Mike, I like food.
Man, it's good stuff,
It's just, not only do I need it to survive, thank God food is like great.
Yeah, it's not like just awful to
Like oxygen,
intake.
I spite breathe it every 3 seconds.
Yeah, that's why you have a deep sigh after every breath. You're like, not again, oxygen.
God, I hate it.
This is food and drink games.
What's up, everybody? My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
We're the Brothers Murph, and yeah, we're talking today about our top 10 games that mostly feature food and drinks. Yeah. And so these are games that were like food or drinks is I would say the main part of the game. So a little caveat, we're not going to add in farming games. Things like Agricola, we think those are more about farming the
Cows
food.
aren't food, they're your pets.
They're people too.
All right.
And so we decided to omit farming games. That's kind of its own thing. And most of those games have to do with food. We want games where we think food or drinks that's the focus of the game.
Agreed,
right?
Agreed, yeah. So just to note that it's not a diss against farming games. They're my favorite kind of game.
Yeah,
we're going to focus on a little bit area. So
sorry, Uwe.
Sorry, Uwe. Hey, we're going to get you the whole list later. Don't worry about that. Here's 10 food and drink games.
Number 10 is going to be Dinosaur Tea Party. This is a fancy game with your fancy dinosaurs drinking tea and eating crumpets and stuff. Dinosaur Tea Party is great. This game is centered around tea and cakes and stuff like that, and that's why it's part of the food one. But this is essentially like kind of like Gamers Guess Who. It's by Restoration Games. It's originally was a game called Who's It, but they now made it into a Dinosaur Tea Party and have really beautiful art in Dinosaur Tea Party. But there are various dinosaurs who have various traits to them. So they might have stripes, they might have their teeth showing, they might be drinking tea, they might be eating food, they might have a pet with them, they might have a fancy hat on. There's all these different traits that these dinosaurs can have, and during the game, everyone is going to be assigned one of these dinosaurs secretly. So you're Reginald, the Velociraptor or whatever, and then you're gonna be asking questions of other people, kind of Guess Who style. But the nice thing about this is you have certain things that you can ask. Again, all the traits are laid out, so you can be like, hello, darling, are your teeth showing today? And then they have to answer yes or no. And then you can start to deduce which dinosaurs people are based off of what they say. So if they're like, oh, this person's their teeth is showing, they're drinking tea, and they have a hat on, okay, so now that can only be this person or this person. Okay, and you can start guessing like that. And if you ever get found out, the person who found you out gains a sugar cube, and then you just get a new dinosaur card and you go again. And so you're never like out. You're trying to get 3 sugar cubes. But one twist that you can play with this game that I really, really enjoy is you can play with these 3 quirks, and you'll kind of randomly assign these 3 quirks to dinosaurs, and one of which is always says no. One of which is always lies, and then the other one is they always oscillate between yes and no. So they'll say yes, next question they'll say no, then they'll say yes, then they say no. And so these 3 quirks are just randomly assigned to dinosaurs, and so it just throws some suspicion in there, because I've asked Mike now 3 questions, and he keeps saying no. Now, I could just be wrong and keep asking questions that are honestly no, or he might be the dinosaur that always says no. And so it just adds a little bit of a wrinkle in there that makes it really, really fun. I love Dinosaur Tea Party. You can play it with like young kids, you can play it with adults, you can all just get crazy and get into like fun, silly accents. It's just a good time. Love Dinosaur Tea Party.
Number 9 is Point Salad. This is a game where you are collecting cards which will have different vegetables as you are assembling a salad. Very abstracted, of course, but it's all set around creating these different groups of vegetables to score as many points as you can. So Point Salad, kind of a joke on the term Point Salad, which means everything scores points and stuff, and this is very much that. What's really cool is on a turn, it's dead simple what you do. There's a little market of 6 cards, so you can take 2 cards from the market. Or on top of those markets are the back sides of the cards, which are different scoring conditions, which are gonna be kind of set collection things. So for every carrot and onion you have at the end of the game, you get 5 points, for example. So maybe I wanna take that because I already have a bunch of carrots and onions, so I might as well take that card and score those points. So again, either 2 vegetables or one of the scoring cards. There's no limit to the amount of vegetables you can have. There's no limit to the amount of scoring cards you can have, and every scoring card can use all of the vegetables you've collected. So you don't have to be like, this carrot's for this scoring card only. It's good for any and all scoring cards. And that right there is just so fun because it's nice and easy. It doesn't make you do a ton of extra math. It just keeps it simple for you. And that's what keeps us coming back to this game. It plays up to 6 players, so it's really quick and great at all of those player counts. And it's fun to try to build, you know, a nice collection of vegetables that serve as many scoring cards as possible easily. You know what I mean? And there's certain ones that will give you like 4 points for every cabbage you get, but onions will score you 1, and carrots, again, back to carrots, might lose you points. So it's like, well, is it worth it if I'm gonna lose points for the carrots I already have? Because I do also have cabbage, maybe that's good, you know, and it creates like a fun little decision space, but keeping it very simple. That is point salad.
Number 8 is a newer one for this, and this is Distilled. Distilled, you are working in a distillery and you are making various spirits. There's a whole bunch of different kind of spirits you can make in the game. You can make like vodka, you can make gin, brandy, you know, whiskey, tequila, things like that. And you also make good old moonshine, which I love about this game. And this game is kind of a push your luck game to a degree, where you are going to be having your distillery and you're gonna be trying to make these spirits, and you're gonna have a market phase where you're gonna be buying various ingredients. Like you can buy, all the spirits need some kind of sugar. So you can have like grain sugar, fruit sugar, or what was the last one? Snickers, obviously, Snickers and Reese's Cups. I can't remember the third one. And so you're gaining these different sugars. You can also gain like yeast, you can gain water, different other like fancy sugars to throw into your thing. And then basically what's gonna happen is you're gonna be trying to make a certain spirit, and that spirit will take certain ingredients, of course. And then basically, so you're gonna put your ingredients into your kind of stack of cards there, and you're gonna be adding like alcohol and things like that to it. But then you're gonna shuffle it up, because when you make spirits, apparently, I don't drink, so I don't really know. I obviously don't make spirits. But you will take off whatever's at the bottom, kind of the scud at the bottom, and you also take off the top, because those two parts of the spirit are not gonna be very good. So you're shuffling up these cards, but then the bottom card and the top card are gonna go away, and you're left with whatever's left. And so you don't always know what you're gonna make. And sometimes you might make some moonshine, because you can make moonshine out of anything. So if you mess up your thing, you got rid of the 2 sugars you need, so now it's just pure alcohol and water, well, guess what? You made some moonshine. But the nice thing about that is making moonshine isn't necessarily horrible. You will still get money, you will still get things for it. It's just not necessarily the nice whiskey you wanted to make. But I actually like that. So you can like pack in more stuff into this spirit to try and hedge your bets a little bit. I actually really, really like that kind of push your luck element, because it makes me laugh that you accidentally made some moonshine. But you're like, I'll sell it, whatever. We'll throw this moonshine out the back and sell it for a quick buck, whatever. And it's just really, really fun. And then you need to put your spirit into some kind of, I was gonna say holding device, some kind of like cask or a barrel or some kind of bottle. Sometimes they need to age. When they age, they gain different notes, different flavors, and then you eventually will sell them off to make money. It's really, really fun. There's all these different flights that you can work with, where you're like, this game, we're gonna play with these spirits, and these spirits are worth this amount. Every distillery has a special power, so you're always a little bit different. You always have a signature spirit that only you can make. It's just really, really good. I really like Distilled a lot, and it's just, I don't know, I like games about making drinks. It's just fun.
Number 7 is a card drafting game called Sushi Roll. Rather, I should say a dice drafting game in this version. It's a iteration on Sushi Go. This is Sushi Roll. So this is a game where we are once again trying to put together a delicious meal of sushi, but now our sushi are gonna be represented by dice that we are rolling and putting onto a little conveyor belt that goes around the table. And each turn, you are going to, in turn order, choose 1 die to take either from your conveyor belt that's in front of you, or there's certain actions that allow you to take from others. And you are going to add it to your menu. Then the conveyor belts will move. You'll re-roll the new dice you now have in front of you. And then we kind of rinse and repeat, and we do that for 3 rounds. The things we like about this over Sushi Go is I like that I can see on the table what kind of potential options there are. Each color die and stuff will pertain to different things like sashimi, your like dumplings and things and your tempura. So I can see like, if I'm going for tempura, I can see at least how many dice I have available that it's possible to have for tempura. Now you're gonna re-roll those dice a bunch, so it might not always show up as tempura when you roll it, but I can see like if it's even possible to get to the scoring. I really enjoy that, so you can kind of game it a little bit. You can not steal dice, but you can exchange dice with other players, so I can make sure I get what I need. And it keeps the kind of set collection really intact that is from Sushi Go, and is so great. But for us with Sushi Go, it ends up getting a little mixed up with the timing of cards and stuff. Sushi Roll keeps it all in front of you, so it's just a little bit easier to make the game work smoothly while keeping the adorable theme of like the most cute sushi that's ever been created. That is Sushi Roll.
Number 6 is a real-time game called Kitchen Rush. This is a game where you are in a kitchen, so it's definitely food-based. And this is a real-time cooperative worker placement game. Your workers are going to be sand timers, I believe 30-second sand timers, and you are working a kitchen. You are gonna have orders. This order is for, you know, Parmesan chicken or whatever, right? And so then you have to have the ingredients, and then you have to get the ingredients, make them into the dish, cook the dish the amount that it needs to get cooked, and then serve it out. And every round is 4 minutes long. And again, your workers are going to be these sand timers. So when you go and put this sand timer over here to go chop veggies or whatever, it can't move until that sand timer has run out. So it's this frantic moving around of stuff and like waiting for something to get done, and boom, move over here to cook and cook it. And things need to be cooked only once or twice or 3 or maybe 4 times, depending on if it's a salad, it doesn't need to be cooked at all. You can just immediately serve it. If it's like a lasagna, it needs to be cooked like 3 separate times because it's gotta bake for a while. So you gotta cook it and then get it out. And then dishes happen, you gotta like clean your dishes and stuff. It's this crazy, frantic, bananas game that I really enjoy because it's just nuts. It's just really, really silly, really fun, and hard. Like the only knock I can give this game is that it is sometimes just too darn hard. It's really, really tough. But it's just such a cool concept. And it also like thematically makes a lot of sense. Kitchens during like mega rush hour are just nuts. And it feels like this is probably kind of what it's like. And so I really enjoy Kitchen Rush. It's really, really fun. Also Rush MD, which is a similar game where sand timers, worker placement cooperative, but it's in a hospital, really, really fun. But Kitchen Rush is a good time. And it's just wild, nuts. You gotta be in the right mood, but when you are, it's a blast.
Number 5 is an I Split You Choose game called New York Slice. So this is a game where we are assembling pizzas, which are these different tiles in pizza, you know, pie shapes. And you are, if it's, you know, I'm the main player, I'm gonna assemble the pizza and then I'm gonna split it up into groups that are equal to the player count. So everyone's always gonna get something. And I'm gonna put, you know, a couple of pepperoni from here, and you can't like rearrange the slices the way they can, but you can kind of split it in different ways to make some a little more favorable, a little less favorable, or whatever it might be. And there's also kind of a superpower that happens each turn. And the cool thing is like, if I'm the one cutting up the pizza, I'm the last one to take a slice. So once I divvy it up into 4 sections, say, because there's 4 players, player 1's gonna take whatever section they want, player 2, then 3, and I get the leftovers. So I have to try to split things up in such a way that I make really interesting, you know, sections of pie that my opponents are gonna wanna take, so I can make sure that the thing that's left over is the thing that I actually want. And you can split up that pizza however you want, so long as there's a slice or a section for every player. It's really fun. It's all kind of set collection, so each type of pizza is numbered 3 through 11, I think. And if you're the player with the most 11s at the end of the game, you get 11 points. If you're the player with the most 3s at the end of the game, you get 3 points. But you know, if there's 11 types of a certain type of pizza, like that pepperoni, it's gonna be harder to get the clear majority because there's so much of it going around. So you try to go for those higher level slices, or do you try to go for the lower levels? Because if I get 2 3s, I know I'm going to win that one. There's a lot of decisions to make with that. So it's kind of this set collection. of pizza, which is just like really unique. I haven't quite seen that before. The game is a pizza box. The rules are like a menu. The score is like where you'd write down the order and stuff, the score pad. So it's got a lot of fun theming to it. And something I haven't seen before, where it's like you're splitting up pizza and sharing it. Very cool theme.
Number 4 is Gingerbread House by Praise B, Phil Walker Harding. We always praise B to Phil Walker Harding. This is a game where you are building out a gingerbread house, but all these fantasy creatures keep coming and eating it, so you gotta put them in jail. it's a weird theme. I love it though. So basically you are putting out these domino tiles and you're stacking them up in a little 3x3 grid, and you're kind of making a little gingerbread house. And this is one of those games where the things that you cover up with the domino tiles are the things you're gonna get. And you're basically gonna get different types of gingerbreads, like yellow, green, red, and blue. And that is how you are going to essentially get rid of these fantasy people who are coming around. So basically you're like, okay, I'm gonna have this fantasy creature come to me, and it's all like kind of like public domain fantasy stuff, like Snow White, like the devil, just things like that, just things that are very Alice in Wonderland, stuff that's all out in the public domain. And all of those creatures will want certain types of gingerbread that you can essentially attract to trap them and then throw them in jail, basically. And then they're all gonna have scoring stuff on them. Certain ones will be like happy or mean, and you might want all mean ones for certain scoring cards that you have. But it all comes down to just like putting out these domino tiles and getting the things that you need, and then also trying to chain stuff together. You can essentially, whenever you successfully capture a fantasy creature, you can get essentially this wild piece that you'll immediately put in. That wild thing could be anything. And you can a lot of times combo stuff together, particularly with those wilds, and it's just really, really fun. Phil Walker Harding always does good stuff. This is also a great one to play around the holidays because it's like gingerbread themed. It's just an absolute banger, as Phil Walker Harding always does, and it's combo wombo-tastic, and we love that.
Number 3 is a game all about making candy. This is Dreadful Meadows. So it's candy in kind of like a Halloween-y world. It's perfect for the fall season to play. This is a game where you are different confectioners and you are creating fields that will produce candy like a farm. It's a candy farm. Again, in this kind of fantastical Halloween-y world. The thing I like about this game is you can place out workers and then kind of produce on everything that's around those workers, and those candies will then become essentially currency you can use to buy more patches, which are different sections of land. You want to create groups of patches that are all the same. So like treacle teeth, you want a bunch of treacle teeth next to each other. You can place out these harvesters and stuff by paying kind of an exorbitant fee, but place out these harvesters, which will then, if I have a worker that triggers a tile that has a harvester, it triggers all the tiles around it as well. So you can really start to produce a ton of stuff. And again, you're buying patches with those that candy, or completing concoctions, aka contracts with that candy, and things like that. So what's cool is this game has everyone has a little bit of a player power, but it's fairly simple to get into, but you can kind of be pretty tricksy with it in kind of the way you lay out your farm, I'll say, so that when you place workers out, you kind of produce and combo stuff as best you can to get a ton of stuff out of one worker placement, one of your little sprites, to then kind of power up all your other types of actions. It's really fun. The world of it is so beautiful. It's so well produced. All the little candy pieces, the little wooden bits are delightful. And it's a world I just want to live in and see, because it's not a scary Halloween world. This is kind of fun, and we're making candy, but I'm like a pumpkin man. It's fantastic.
Number 2 is quickly becoming one of our favorite 2-player games, and this is Beer and Bread. Beer and Bread is a 2-player only game where you are rival families across a river, and you are trying to brew the best beer and bake the best bread. It is hard to say that, and it's hard to say that. But you're basically trying to brew beer and bake bread, and you want it to be better than your opponents. You're kind of a friendly rivalry that you have every year. And this is a game with great multi-use cards, because every card has 3 uses. You can use this card to harvest ingredients that you'll use to make bread and beer, like hops, wheat, barley, rye, things like that. Or you can use it as the recipe, which is in the middle, which is going to be the type of beer or bread that it is that you're trying to bake or brew. Or you can use it as a special power, which is on the bottom that will slot underneath your board, and it's gonna be some kind of ongoing power or maybe some endgame scoring. And so every single card, you have to choose how you want to use it. And then each round is going to oscillate between plentiful years and then kind of dry years. And so sometimes during the plentiful years, there's a lot more ingredients out there. The dry years, there's not as many. During the plentiful years, you will draft cards back and forth. During the dry years, you will get cards essentially get cards that you used last round. It's really, really interesting the way it works. And it's just a quick game that's ultimately pretty simple rules-wise, but has a really high strategy ceiling. It's just really, really good. And it's just two-player head-to-head. You're managing your ingredients. You're trying to bake this bread, brew this beer, and just try and do the best you can. And at the end of the game, whatever your lower of the two scores between bread and beer, that's gonna be your score. So you need to do both as equally as possible. You can't be like, we're going all beer this year, screw the bread. You can't do that. You gotta do both. And so trying to balance that is really, really fun. It's just an absolute blast.
Number 1 is Nick's overall favorite game of all time. This is Viticulture. This is a game all about winemaking. This is one that Nick and I, Nick in particular, was so drawn into by the theme. This is like an early game for us in the hobby where the idea that like themes like running a vineyard could exist was a new thing. We did not know that yet. We hadn't seen the wide world of board games quite yet, and so that blew our minds. We're like, what? I can do that? I don't even like drink. That sounds amazing though. I want to do that. It sounds like romantic as all get out. So this is a game where you're running that vineyard and you're using your workers to plant vines, harvest those vines to get wonderful grapes, maybe age those grapes a bit, turn them into wine, age that wine to fulfill wine orders. So that's something that we really enjoy about the game, is the kind of linear thinking that goes in of, I'm going to want some wine. Well, I need to get grapes. Okay, how do I get grapes? I need to plant vines. You can kind of work that logic backward, and it has a nice flow to it with that, where you kind of build up this engine of now you're producing more and more grapes each year and harvesting those fields. So you can kind of feel this satisfaction of going from kind of nothing to these barren, hillsides to this wonderfully, fully operational vineyard. It's just incredibly satisfying each time. There's all these summer and visitor cards, which give you specific opportunities to maybe plant a little bit extra or make an extra wine this turn, that give you a ton of variability from round to round, from game to game. Viticulture is one that we just keep coming back to. The Tuscany expansion is amazing. The Viticulture World cooperative expansion is really interesting and really difficult to really test your skills in viticulture. There's just a lot to love here.
So that was our top 10 games based out of food and drink. My favorite game of all time is number 1.
I mean, how could you not choose Viticulture,
right? Love to see it. I love games about food and drink because it's weird there's not more of them, considering how important, like,
so much of our
food
culture is around restaurants and making meals around a table.
You have to eat every day. You think there'd be more games about food, considering, you said,
we're too busy eating food to make games about it.
Well, honestly, what a good life.
Yeah.
And so that is our top 10 games about food and drink. Let us know down in the comments below some games that we missed. Until next time, I'm Nick.
I'm Mike.
We're the Brothers Murph. We'll see you later, everybody.